From page to screen.
This will be weird for you. I guess you've probably done video podcasts before, but not.
Nope.
Never done one.
Nope.
Wow. Welcome to a whole new sort of world of, well, this feels different than all the other podcasts we've done. So that is the biggest earring I've ever seen.
Well, this side here.
That's huge. Yes.
Both sides.
Wow. It is good to finally see you anyway. So how are you?
Yeah,
how have you been?
I'm not too bad. Typical Sunday. Well, typical weekend. I'm just glad I'm not working. I am not next weekend, the weekend after.
Yeah.
So yeah, just because weekends are meant to just relax and do absolutely nothing.
And have you relaxed and done absolutely nothing this weekend?
Pretty much. Well, a friend of mine, he's becoming a dad for the first time in December. So I thought, you know what, let's be the nice friend and help him out with a few bits and bobs. So he moved a bit of furniture around for him today. And yesterday was just pretty much video games and football and a film. So
the usual. What are you playing at the minute?
I'm in that rut again where I can't think about what to play. So it is just mainly Doom Eternal. Okay. I'm getting really angry at Doom Eternal.
I tried to play some more Crash Bandicoot yesterday, and that's just a nightmare, that game. I love it, but it's just more difficult than I ever remember it being. So I'm like, you know what? Games shouldn't be this stressful, so I'm just going to get rid of it and play something less stressful. So we ended up putting Rayman Legends, I think, on instead, which is, fun.
Definitely is. Just one thing, because like I said, I've never done video podcast or anything like that before. Am I supposed to just see a static image of you?
No, I'm moving. Or should be.
No, I just see a static image of you.
Oh well, I should be moving.
I see your profile picture, and that's all I see.
Oh right, okay. Let's have a look.
Because I can see mine in the top corner.
Yeah, I can see you fully moving, and I can see me moving in the profile.
Nope, I just see.
Do you know when you answered the call? Says like Ghostbusters thing, doesn't it? Answer the call. Which option did you choose? Because I'm guessing there would have been a video one and an audio one. You might have clicked the audio one.
Yeah, I clicked video.
Do you want me to hang up, check the video to see if it's... Oh, yeah, now I've just got your profile picture now.
Yeah, because I just switched the video off and switched it back on. I thought it would be that. Right. It wasn't that.
Let's have a look on... So I've switched mine off now because I've disappeared from the profile, and now I will switch it back on.
Yeah, there you go.
Is that working now?
It is working indeed. I can see the Lego Star Wars thing in the background.
Yeah, everything's moving. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, talking about video game ruts, I was in one last week. I'm like, right, what do I play? Nothing. I can't be bothered playing anything whatsoever. So I ended up watching old episodes of Grange Hill instead. Which is
interesting thing to actually choose to watch. When I'm doing that, and when I'm in a rut of playing video games, I just watch other people play video games.
Yeah, I need to start doing that on Twitch and stuff.
Yeah, on Twitch or Kick. Well, Kick is sort of like new, but it's just mainly on Twitch. And so I'm watching people play games that I know I can't play. For example, my PC is rubbish. It's garbage. This video call here, I'm doing it on the tablet.
Right.
So, because my computer, if I actually press the power on button right now, it'll probably just explode on me. Right. So you'll just see me go flying backwards in a big, massive blue ball of flames or something like that.
Well, that'll be good for my TikTok channel because it'll have recorded at this end, but not so much good for any repeat visitations for you on the podcast.
So that's a no. So yeah, when I watch Twitch, I try to watch things that I know I can't play. So at the moment, I'm watching people play Diablo 3 because I know that I can't play it because my PC is very limited and slightly off-putting because I've never played sort of like that point-and-click kind of isometric adventure kind of games before. I've never played them just because I've never had a PC decent enough to play it. The best thing my PC could play was Minecraft.
Same.
That's it.
Yeah, mine used to be
So
able to play Minesweeper back in the day, and the old Windows.
I don't even think mine can actually play Minesweeper anymore.
Oh no!
It'll be an actual mine itself. But yeah, I prefer to watch games that I know I can't play, and in a way, it gets me out of a bit of a rut. So, for example, today and yesterday, I was playing Doom Eternal while watching somebody play Diablo 3. Because Doom Eternal is that kind of game where you stick music on in the background or put a podcast on, or I have my tablet beside me and just watch the football or watch somebody play a video game or something like that. And that's a perfect game. That's what it's for. But yeah, I'm in that kind of gaming rut. I'm waiting for Alan Wake 2. Can't wait for that.
When's that out? That's just this year, isn't it?
It is end of September, early October. So around about I think it's the gap between Saw X and The Exorcist Believer. Because Saw X is out on September 28th. Exorcist Believer is out on October 13th. So I think it's not like in that gap. So that would be a perfect thing then. See Saw X, play Alan Wake 2. And then, yes, I am actually going to see The Exorcist Believer, despite the fact I don't like The Exorcist or think it's very overrated.
Yeah.
And then go see The Exorcist Believer.
The first of a trilogy.
Yes, annoyingly. Yep. Which will probably make the first one very good and then cock up the other two.
Bit like Halloween, that trilogy.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly
first one
like
very
that.
good, and then downhill from there on.
Builds up our expectations. I wish he would have actually made the first one not very good and then the other two really good.
Yeah.
So, but nope, that's not the way David Gordon Green works. So we'll hope, because I do like the trailer of Exorcist Believer. I think it's an interesting idea, having two people possessed rather than just one, and two young girls possessed rather than just one. So it has sort of like that give and take between them, because they're both from different backgrounds as well. So I do quite like that. But we will see.
we will see when you've watched that. I look forward to your tweet review and then a conversation about it on a podcast, be it video or be it audio. Who knows?
My 200 and whatever tweet character review of films. Tried out my best to make it as interesting as possible in the tweet.
How are you finding social media at the minute? I'm finding it a lot quieter than it has been in the past few months.
It's because Elon has decided to take a little bit of a break. I think he's on holiday.
He could stay on holiday, I think.
Yeah, he's just on holiday at the moment. Yeah, I've seen a few bits and bobs going around on X. Mm-hmm. Who's calling it X?
Nobody. Elon Musk is calling it X. Nobody else is calling it that.
Sounds like a social media for pornography or something. That's what it sounds like. So Twitter, it will always be Twitter, despite the fact it's got the X icon. I will still always refer to it as Twitter.
Yeah.
But yeah. On Twitter, I've seen a few murmurings and mutterings of Elon doing his usual things, saying, "Oh, you can't block people anymore," or things like that. So there are a few bits and bobs there, but it has calmed down a little bit. So it just seems nice. It's nice to actually be able to post something on there and what have you. Feel like it's the old days.
It's kind of annoying the amount of social media platforms that we have. I mean, it's like I'm starting to use Facebook more than I used to. I've obviously got Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Blue Sky is just like, hello, is there anybody out there? Is there anybody coming off a conversation?
Start days in Twitter, it feels like.
Yeah. So, and it is a bit of a pain in the neck to have just multiple posts the same thing onto all your different social media platforms. It's a bit of a nuisance.
Yeah. I wonder how many people know that you do have on Twitter are actually on Threads, or on Blue Sky, or on Facebook, or actually pretty much the exactly the same thing, and then probably just reply back to you going, "I've already seen it once. I don't need to see it another 4 times."
Yeah, that's the problem. I think on my Twitter profile is because I've been doing it for years. It's got a lot of people on it. Threads, I think I'm on around 300, which is nowhere near my Twitter one. Facebook's pretty good, and I think I have 9 on Blue Sky. Well, hey, I'm smashing it on Blue Sky.
I'm not even on there, but it's one of the reasons why I stopped posting my sort of like reviews on Threads as well, just because I felt like, you know what, the people who are on Threads at the moment, I need to sort of like maybe post other things on there. Are the same kind of people who's on me Twitter, and I don't care if people see my reviews or whatever. It's just me keeping my own little sort of like journal anywhere, and then when it comes to the end of the year, going, I hated that film, but I like that film. So that's all it's for. And because with me having that 11 plus years of reviewing films, it's sort of like that little endorphin rush thing that you can get your thoughts out about something rather than just leaving it there and having a conversation with colleagues at work who don't care.
Yeah. That must suck, though. Like you work with colleagues who are like, I don't like the films you don't like. There's nothing better than having an actual conversation about movies, whether people agree or whether they don't agree. It's kind of cool having those whole social interactions and stuff.
It's most of the time disagree because I've got a close group knit of friends who when they go, oh, I can't wait to go and see, for example, Meg 2. And then me just jumping in and going, by the way, Meg 2 is pretty bad. And then, do you actually like films? Yes, I do, but not the Meg 2, for example.
Yeah, the Meg 2, it's not one I'm going to rush out to cinema and watch. I do want to watch Strays, however. That looks funny. I need a laugh. I haven't had a laugh at a movie for a little while, but that looks pretty good.
It's been ages since I've laughed at a film. Actually, sort of. We used to have, there was the 6 laugh test. So if you laugh more than 6 times at the film, you know it's a good film. At a comedy, you need to make sure you laugh 6 times plus for it to actually be deemed as a comedy. But me, it's a 4 laugh test.
Yeah.
So if I get more than 4 laughs, then it's deemed actually pretty good. TMNT Mutant Mayhem, so the new Turtles film, that actually got 3 decent laughs and a couple of sniggers. So I sort of like classify that as a success in a way. So that was the last film that sort of like made me smile. Prior to that, that's a good question. I can't even think what the film was prior to that.
List.
Yeah, comedies and me really do not mix. So I'm not. I look at Strays and just think no.
Oh, I just look stupid. I don't mind these stupid films. Sometimes you need a cocaine bear or you need a Strays.
I don't like Cocaine Bear though, so yeah, the Blackening, which is out next week, isn't it? The Blackening. That was supposed to be deemed as sort of like a scary movie, so the Scary Movie franchise, scary movie of slashers, but not as stupid and dumb as that. And it's okay, but still not as funny as people made it out to be, because I've seen it, I saw it a few weeks ago, and I just thought, yeah, it's okay, and I do like the premise, but even they ditched the premise about 20 minutes into the film because they just felt, we can't get any laughs from this. So, yeah.
I have watched, I watched Joyride, which was quite funny. It wasn't like the funniest film of the year, which I've heard on podcasts, apparently it is, but it wasn't, but it was good. And I've also watched No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence, which it was a good film. All the funny bits are in the trailer, but the film itself, it reminded me a lot of like 80s films, like the John Hughes type stuff. So there was more to it than just like funny bits. So No Hard Feelings I did enjoy, but I'd rather not have seen the trailer.
Yeah, I just I heard the review of it, but I just thought no. And when people say Joyride, the only thing that always comes to mind is the horror film Joyride.
Yeah,
that's the only thing that ever comes to mind. And then obviously the alternative, which is Roadkill, which annoyingly the 3rd film in the series in the UK was actually called Joyride 3. Roadkill.
Wow. Okay, I didn't even know there was a sequel, let alone a 3rd one. So
the sequel is awful. The 3rd one's terrible. But yeah, it is called Joyride 3 Roadkill. But I think in America it's just called Roadkill 3. I don't think they actually called it Roadkill 3 Joyride, because that would have just been a fitting way of actually doing it. But yeah, that's what comes to mind when I hear Joyride. Just when they've remade Joyride, really, with Paul Walker? Have they actually got like a digital version of Paul Walker getting ripped apart by 2 trucks, something?
Yeah, nope, not that one. So you picked an interesting topic. Rob's not here tonight, from as you can tell, because he's got back issues, so he didn't want to do the video. So I'm like, fine, you take the week off. So it's me and you that's having a conversation. But you wanted to have a conversation about physical media.
Yep.
Which is always a fascinating and interesting topic. Yeah. So elaborate on what you'd like to talk about with physical media, and then we'll set this race off and we'll.
Yeah, it's obviously an area that you're a bit of an expert, or you've got a knowledge in, because it's pretty much your background, as you've alluded to on the tweet that you posted up earlier on, that you used to work in a video store. So just for me, the thing that triggered me was, I don't know if you heard the news story about Disney in Australia.
Yeah.
and the fact that they are ditching physical media, DVD and Blu-ray in Australia. That was the thing that triggered it for me. And I was thinking, is physical media in trouble, or is there still a place for it in society? And when you sort of like look at the statistics, it doesn't look very good on the physical media side of things, because you look at people who have subscriptions to digital platforms like Netflix and Amazon and Hulu and whatever digital platform there is. There's 100 plus in America. There's quite a few digital platforms in the UK. So you look at the people who've got that. You look at people who buy video games and how they actually purchase video games. Do you purchase them digitally or do they purchase them physically? And so the statistics is not very well into the physical camp. For example, PlayStation-wise, more people buy games digitally than they do physically. It's around about an 80-20 split digitally compared to physical. Yet the thing that sort of like triggers me is more people bought the disc-based PlayStation 5 over the digital one, just because obviously Sony decided not to make as many of them, but still more people wanted to buy the physical one. And yet you look at Xbox and it's the opposite way around. The highest selling one of the two is the S, which is the digital console, rather than the X, which is the physical one. So it was just sort of like Disney triggered it. And then looking at those stats and thinking, is physical media coming to an end? Is the hammer in the coffin getting like ready to be placed in each one of the corners and ready to be tapped in and laid to rest? Or is there still actually a demand for physical media?
And what do you think? Do you think that physical media is coming to an end?
See, the job that I do, I work in a call centre. And so I work in home insurance, where I speak to a breadth of different people, everybody from people who've just bought their first home to people who've had a home for 70 years and they've paid off their mortgage and it's their final resting home. So I speak to a breadth of people, and you sort of like get the understanding of what people are like from that kind of group. You know that the younger audience are the ones who are tech savvy, who are going to be there, who are going to go online, sort out their insurance online. Yet you've got the older people who are going to pick up the phone and actually call somebody so they can actually speak one-to-one between people. Those are the people who are still going to demand physical media. However, the digital generation are going to get older someday. And so if they have grew up of just wanting digital items, then in the future, in 20 years' time, that's all they're going to know. That's just going to be their know-how. So yes, physical media is going to die, but I think it's going to take a while before it does actually die, because I'm one of those really awkward people, no surprise. I'm on the fence. I love digital. I'm a tech nerd. I love tech. Yet I still have a pen and piece of paper and write things down. Yet I still, when I buy a game for my PlayStation 5, I buy the disc version of it rather than digital. I've got digital games, but I love having that disc in my hand and go and pop it in the disc tray and having when you used to get a manual with it and all that kind of stuff. I think it's going to take a while before it dies, but it will obviously eventually die, because digital is just so easy for studios to release things via digital. They could release a trailer for a film and then release it the next day digitally. Look at what happened to Cloverfield Paradox. It was shown in a trailer at the Super Bowl, released on Netflix then. They can do that. You can't do that with physical. The last time I remember it happening with physical was the Sega Saturn. Back in 1999, when the Sega Saturn came out, September the 9th, 1999, Sega announced the Sega Saturn and said, by the way, it's on sale now. When do you get that these days with physical media? And so it's so hard to do. So it's still going to be with us. How long for? Unsure. But we will eventually get the digital playground rather than physical.
The Disney move in Australia and New Zealand, I think it is as well, is definitely a test case, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, you know, if
what a country to test case it in, though, in somewhere like, because normally when you look at companies who do betas of things, they're always doing them slightly. When you look at the list, you go, well, you're testing it in South Africa, you're testing it in Portugal, you're testing it in Sweden. Yeah. So why are you not testing it in an area where you've got a bigger group of people? Because they don't want it sort of like people to cotton on, by the way, we're testing this thing here. So they go for an area where people are not actually more sort of like understanding of how they're taking media. But it's strange that they're using Australia then as a test bed. Because you would think, why don't you use somewhere like country itself, like not an underdeveloped country, no offense to South Africa, but you look at their tech compared to across the globe. So why don't you look at an area, say like an area in Europe, like a Sweden or a Portugal or a Spain or an Italy, use it, test it there to see what actually happens. But I don't even think that Disney know what they're doing. Disney definitely don't know what they're doing. Look who's running them.
Out of all the companies, Disney certainly have lost any, yes, they know what they're doing, credibility over the past few years.
Yeah, they've just absolutely just screwed themselves over multiple times. They spend too much money on films.
Yeah.
They're not bringing in the cash anymore when it comes to box office at all. And they've got a chairman who's an absolute idiot who doesn't know his arse from his own elbow.
Yep.
And then they do things like testing, well, let's go to an all-digital platform in a country like Australia instead of releasing a film on Blu-ray and DVD. They must have done some sort of survey, though, to just garner what.
You would hope so, although with Disney, you don't know, do you? They might be like, pick Australia, that'll do. Pointed at a map and away they go.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of torn with the physical media, because it's like I'm old enough that I remember what it was like before physical media. And then physical media came in, and by, physical media, I mean, what are these little bad boys? What are these little VHS plastic tapes? So for those watching the video one, I'm holding a VHS tape up. So I remember when they came out, and there was the rise of the video stores and the independent video stores, and then Blockbuster came along, and people were recording films at home, and then you would build up your own film collection, as we've all done over the years, DVDs and Blu-rays. So I can't imagine a time when there isn't any physical media. And for me, it makes me sad, because I love physical media. I think it's great. I will still go out and buy, get things like this cool Hammer box set, which has got 20 odd Hammer movies in, or the complete series of Miami Vice, which I was given by a friend of mine, Abel. So thanks for that. So I will always have physical media in my house, but I don't often go out and buy, for example, Avatar: The Way of Water, or go out and buy Cocaine Bear. I'll go out and buy the films that I've already seen that I know I want to keep, but I won't do like I used to do years ago, which is like, I want to watch that, I'll buy it, put it on the shelf, and it'll sit there if I don't like it.
Sort of like what I used to do. I used to go into HMV and just go, well, that looks like a decent box, buy that. I'll buy that, and I'll buy that. And then that's it. It's the same way we used to obviously go into Blockbusters or Global Video and rent a film. You just quickly scan the front of it, quickly scan the back of it, go, well, I'm after a horror film. I'll just rent that one. I'll just rent that one. Now, it is you jump on Netflix and you go, let's watch a film. Half an hour later, you're still scrolling through the huge, massive list, just going, what the hell am I going to watch? Unless you've got a definite that you go, I'm definitely going to watch that. It is just, there is a convenience of just scrolling through it. But I think boredom sets in more easier than it did if you are actually going for a physical copy of something. Because, you, as you said, you've got that definite going, I want that. Or back in the old days, it was, ooh, that looks cool. And you're just reading it for the first time rather than just seeing a picture of the box and then the trailer just instantly coming up.
But I think how often, certainly with the streaming platforms, how often do you put a film on and you go, oh, this is terrible, so you just move on to the next one, and before you know it, you spent the entire evening watching the first 5 minutes of about 16 films. You never did that in a video store, or if you bought physical media, you paid money for it, you watched it, even if it was terrible. You're like, you know what, I just won't rewind it at the end. That'll be my revenge.
My revenge.
But also you miss out on the conversations, because you touched upon speaking with colleagues and stuff, either going into a video store as a customer, which I've obviously done, or working in a video store. The amount of lengthy conversations I had about movies is just insane. Don't really get that when I'm scrolling through Netflix or Amazon. It's just me. And
also the best thing about physical media as well, it's something probably that you like as well, watching a documentary making of. Because yes, we've got YouTube where you see clips and little snippets and vignettes and featurettes on specific films on YouTube. but they never seem to feel like it is the making of documentary. It's never the deleted scenes. It's never even just the trailers of films that might be coming very soon.
Yeah, I miss
Because
those.
I always used to love watching just that part when before the film was actually about to start. It's like being in the cinema.
Yeah.
You're just going, oh, this film, I've never seen this one. I know about this film. I can't wait for it to come out. You just don't get that with digital at
No.
all. But I think we're just a curmudgeon old people here. I think we're on the sort of like the cusp on the area where we're sort of like, yes to digital, yes to physical media, whereas obviously the younger generation, yikes, 42 into the younger generation, but younger
bad,
people going, oh, I'm digital only, and the older people going, well, I've still got my VHS, I've still got my Betamax, I'm still using Laserdisc. And so those are the ones who are championing, yes, we need physical media. I think they're the ones who are still, yes, we need a TV license and we need the BBC and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas with the teenagers going, the BBC, can't even remember when I actually watched a TV program that was on live.
Get rid of it.
Watched on Netflix or Amazon. Yeah. So there is a place for it.
I think there is. I think that the place for it, for me, is the niche titles. It's the things like some of the Arrow titles that come out, or some of the 101 films, you know, these classic films that are just loaded with special features like commentaries and making ofs, and you get a free poster with it and all that sort of stuff. That tends to be what I spend most of my money on, or box sets like the Hammer one or the 40 film Clint Eastwood box set, which I'm currently working my way through. There isn't a streaming platform that has all of those on, for example. And you mentioned special features. I love audio commentaries. Love them. I don't know anybody else that really listens to them that much. I know Neil Johnson does. He listens to them. You do. So that's three of us. But generally, most people don't, which is a shame. But you can see why studios stopped putting them on, because it costs money. I don't know how much money it costs to put an audio commentary on. It's already been recorded, but apparently it costs something. And
also, the prime example of that is, look at Hellraiser 4. I would have thought we'd talked about Hellraiser 4. There is a version of Hellraiser 4 that was never shot. So the script was written for it by the original director. It's the reason why Hellraiser 4 is one of those films that has got the director by Alan Smithy, the pseudonym director. So there's a version of that film that was never shot. There was a script that was wrote that was supposed to be more like a portmanteau kind of film, exploring the different time frames. But it was just the way they looked at it went, there's not enough Pinhead. So they got a different director in. They wrote a completely new draft. They took elements from that script, shot Hellraiser 4. A lot of people hate Hellraiser 4. I think it's fine. There's elements of it which do work. There's elements of it which don't, but I think it's actually not too bad. However, there's a version of it coming out, which is a rare version of it because they found some of the stuff. So they've sort of like put it in and recut it together and stuff like that. It's only getting a physical release. It's not getting a digital release. And there's me going, I want to see that. I really want to see it. But who cares about it if you don't know about these things? It's, as you said, something that's niche.
It is.
And who would have thought that even 5 years ago we would talk about Blu-rays, UHD, DVDs being a niche?
It's crazy, isn't it? Because, you know, after Blu-ray came out and then the slight rise of 4K, 3D TVs, that was a thing. All these Blu-rays coming out in 3D versions. That didn't work. I think the problem is it is a generational thing, and I think we're part of the old guard where we're like, no, we want physical discs. We want them on a shelf so people can look at them. Is quite often I'll put on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, I've watched this afternoon, and it's usually like a Clint Eastwood film I've watched or whatever. And there's always somebody that replies, what streaming platform's that on? They instantly presume that every film that somebody's watching is on a streaming platform somewhere. And when you go, it's on DVD, they go, oh, there's no effort to go seek this film out. And I'm sure, being a horror fan, many times in your life, you've sought out these horror films that you're like, oh my God, I've got to try and hunt this thing down because I really want to watch it. I don't think people do that anymore, other than people like me.
Definitely not.
No.
But there are obviously the positives with the digital thing, because it is that kind of thing where if you're not feeling very well, the last thing you want to do is to have to lumber out your bed, find a few discs and to keep on changing them over. You've got Netflix or Amazon or something like that to just relax and then stick it on, the film on. It's the instant accessibility That's a big, massive positive about digital. Also, the fact that, yes, broadband speeds are getting better, so at least the quality is actually getting better. But then you've got the negative side is if your broadband goes out, what are you going to do for entertainment?
Watch my big 20-odd disc Hammer set.
Exactly that. I'll pop in my copy of Event Horizon or whatever, because I'll Hellboy or whatever. I'll pop them in. But the people who heavily rely on digital, do they download the films? Probably not. They'll just still heavily rely on being able to stream on Twitch or Netflix or whatever, and they won't be able to do that. So yeah, there are positives, but we'll see what happens in 5 years' time, because I think conversation in 5 years' time is going to be more so by physical.
I mean, I felt the need to watch Blade Runner 2049 again the other night, because I thought, you know what, I've not seen that for ages, and I was listening to the soundtrack for it. So I thought, well, it was on Amazon Prime, so let me go on Amazon Prime, and it was on free, so it was part of the Prime subscription. But now it's not. So I could either buy it or rent it. I thought, well, I don't want to pay money for it because I thought it was on there anyway. So I ended up just going out and buying the DVD, so the Blu-ray. Yeah. So now when I do want to rewatch it in 2 years, 5 years, or whatever, I've got the disc, so I'm covered on that. So it's the availability of a lot of films. Certainly your favorite ones. I now own 98 out of my top 100, so I don't have to worry about them disappearing off a streaming platform, or more to the point, which streaming platform is it on? Is it on any streaming platforms? I have no idea. I don't want to be hunting down where my favorite films are.
That's the other thing as well, is the disappearance of films. Like on a digital platform, you're more guaranteed for that film to just go out of the zeitgeist, for it to just disappear. Because there's only a short period of time where that platform itself, unless it's made by them, so unless it's a Netflix Studio One or an Amazon Studio film, you know that is going to disappear from that platform. So it's getting hold of it. It's the same with games. Prime example is with Sony, you've got PlayStation Plus Premium and Extra, and with obviously Microsoft, you've got Game Pass. And Sony, for example, made a game called Returnal. Housemarque is a company that's technically owned by Sony. They're a second party company. So in other words, they pretty much make games exclusively for Sony, but they're not actually owned by them. And so they've got a game called Returnal. Brilliant game, absolutely brilliant game. It's going off PlayStation Plus in September. So they make that game. They're actually made the game with the Housemarque. And so the only way to get that game is to purchase it digitally or play a physical copy of it. So you're going to lose it. And a lot of people use that streaming thing as a sort of like an easy thing to be able to watch something. And so who's to say in 5 years' time that, yes, Disney own Fox, and so they own Avatar or whatever. Who's to say that Avatar's going to be on Disney Plus?
Yeah.
Who's to say that Harry Potter's, they're being shown on Netflix? Who's to say that Netflix is going to have the rights to Harry Potter's in 5 years' time, and they're not going to be shown on there? Studio Ghibli films, they're all on Netflix at the moment. Well, pretty much all of them are. But who's to say they're going to have them? So where are you going to find the Studio Ghibli films? You're going to have to either purchase them digitally, and then you're going to have a device to be able to actually watch them, or buy a physical copy of it so it makes it easier for you to watch it.
Yeah, go for physical copy. That would be my recommendation for the Ghibli films, most definitely. But it's things like Westworld. You know, I mean, we don't have HBO Max over here, but they were all on HBO Max, and now they're not, because they went, no, we don't want to pay residuals or license fees for those. We'll get rid of them. So what happens to all these people that want to watch Westworld? They're going to run out and buy the discs. So if there were no discs, nobody's watching Westworld. Gone.
Or hope that Sky actually shows it again, which they'll have programs of their own. And TV, I think Sky Television and Virgin Media, the normal channel ways, I think channels are going to disappear before physical media actually do, in my opinion. Really? Because I think more people are actually watching a lot of things on catch-up these days than actually watching stuff live. Because you look at the viewership for ITV programming, and it's gone down majorly in the last couple of years. Like, more people are not actually purchasing a TV license because they know that they don't need one, because you don't need one for Amazon or Netflix or a streaming platform. You just don't need them. So I personally think the only programming that we're going to watch is news programs and sports events.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. Sky no longer going to be showing the Oscars as of next year.
Yeah, I saw that, and it's just like.
So nobody has actually come forward to say, yes, we want to actually televise the Oscars. Because how many people are actually interested in watching the Oscars? You watch it, whoever won on YouTube. It's as simple as that. And that's the way where it's going to go. And those kind of things, I wouldn't be surprised if in 10 years' time, Sky ditch the normal way of actually showing TV programmes and go, well, the football matches are on our app, on Sky Sports. You get the app on your smart TV or your tablet or your phone, watch it that way, and that's it. There's no Sky box for you to actually watch it through.
I was watching, and I'm not a huge sports fan, but today was the World Cup final between England and Spain. So it's a historical thing. So I thought I'll sit down. I'm not doing anything else. I'll sit down, I'll watch it, and I'll just, be there and will them into winning. It didn't work, but, they played well. And it was also the closing ceremony. Now, they were having the closing ceremony before the actual game started, which I found a little bit strange, but that's obviously the way it was. So the BBC were showing the closing ceremony whilst talking over it, and then cut into pre-prepared videos showing other stuff. And then when it came back, whilst the closing ceremony was still going on, the announcer said, if anybody wants to watch the closing ceremony, you'll find it on iPlayer. So even then, with the World Cup closing ceremony, they're like, yeah, we're not showing that. If you want to go watch it, go online and watch it on an iPlayer. Yeah. Mind-boggling.
It is, but we'll see what happens with physical media in 5 years' time, what the conversation will actually be. I think it is going to be more, we're heading to a digital-only sort of like future. And we'll start to see, because HMV has survived a lot of this multiple times.
Yeah.
HMV is a completely different shop now when you go into it, because they personally, in my opinion, sell more things like T-shirts and pop figures and
mugs,
stuff like that.
Graphic novels, things like that.
They sell more like that. I think when it comes to physical media, it's in the area of things like books. Books will always be prevalent. They'll always be out there, because a lot of people, they've got e-readers and tablets to actually read a book. But I think it's just the physical, having the book in your hand and being able to read it. I think they'll be fine. But when it comes to films, unfortunately, it is that 5-10 years time, we're going to see DVD we'll release it on Blu-ray, but we'll release it in small quantities, and then that's disappearing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well, there are some companies that aren't making Blu-ray players anymore. It kind of makes me want to go out and buy half a dozen Blu-ray players and put them in a box, and just so that I don't get to the point one day when I don't have one and I've got all these discs to watch. That will be very annoying, but
I think, unfortunately, I think it is going to be a digital future, and it's creeping up on us a lot more quicker. And I think the pandemic was the thing that sort of like helped it.
Yeah, because people weren't going out. I mean, obviously Amazon was still delivering and stuff, but people weren't thinking, I'll just nip to Asda to buy the latest Marvel movie or whatever they were buying.
I think without the pandemic, I think it might have been a different conversation. I think Disney probably would not be doing what they're doing now and not releasing films on Blu-ray and DVD in Australia. I think it would be a little different conversation, but because of the pandemic and because of what's happening, no, I think digital is definitely going to win this fight.
Because like you sort of said, I know a lot of people who go, can't be bothered putting a disc in, or putting the second disc in from the Lord of the Rings extended version. I can't be bothered with any of that. And it's like, it's not that hard to put a disc in, for God's sake. When I was a kid, I had to get up and physically, go over and make this top-loading VHS tape pop up, and we had blank tapes that lasted an hour, so you had to cut all the crap bits out of the movie so you could fit it all on one. But I also remember life before physical media, and everybody survived. So unfortunately, I think it probably will be the same, when everything becomes digital. But I'll certainly be clinging on to a lot of my physical media.
Yeah, we sort of like, when it comes to gaming as well, we need, because studios, companies like Sony and Microsoft limit the consumers by having a hard drive inside of a PlayStation 5, for example, is 825 gigs. Which is not going to store very much. For example, when Final Fantasy VII Part 2 comes out, because they're remaking Final Fantasy VII, and Part 2 is coming out next year, it's coming out on 2 discs on PlayStation 5.
Wow.
So if it's coming out on 2 discs on PlayStation 5, what's the file size going to be like? For example, Call of Duty, the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 is out in November, sorry. So that's probably, it's notorious for being huge.
Yeah,
it's probably going to be close to around about 200 gigs in total. So if that's 200 gigs on one disc, because the disc is just to see it, by the way, there's a digital key for it. What's Final Fantasy VII Part 2 going to be like then? 350, 400 gigs? In that case that's half your memory on your PlayStation 5 gone just on one game. So until consoles come shipped with like 4 terabytes of memory and stuff like that, I think that's the thing that's going to help physical media over digital. Because I can't be asked to... My internet speed is really good. I get around about 600 megs. So my internet speed is actually pretty good. But you delete a game and you can't, if you've got a speed of like 50 meg, you can't be asked to sit there for another 6 hours and waiting to download your next game. Popping in at the disc here and just being able to play it like that would be quite nice. You can't do that now even because you have to wait for it to install.
Yeah, you do, and then you've got to wait for the update file. It's a nightmare.
If you have to do that with films. Pop a Blu-ray and you've got to wait for it to install. And you're just sitting there. If that's the case, go back to the old days when you used to play Amiga games and pop the cassette in. You used to hear the screeching noise of it actually loading it up and stuff like that. Yeah. That's what we should go back. We should go backwards rather than forwards.
I think we should. Yeah.
Yeah.
People have joked to me at one point, "Oh, you should open a video store again." I'm like, it would last about 5 minutes. You know, it just people don't want to leave their house to walk somewhere, drive somewhere, to go into a shop, to then pick one film up, to go back home. And it's like, yeah, it'd be kind of nice to be able to do that, but you would have to be a billionaire who's happy to just waste lots of money by opening a video store again.
I think the only way you would get away with opening a video store again is if you've got boxes on the shelves and they take the box up to the counter and you hand them a code.
Yeah.
And that's it. You don't walk out with the box. They just hand out with a piece of paper with a code on it so they can digitally download it. And that's the only way you'll probably get away with it. But no, physical shops, they're disappearing. I'm surprised the HMV in my town centre, it moved from a store where it is into a bigger shop, which that actually surprised me. But I wouldn't be surprised if I go down that town centre in a year's time and it's gone.
Yeah. I mean, I went into the nearby Tesco and they don't even have a DVD section anymore.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yep.
So it's just insane.
It's annoying. It's annoying.
I mean, have you got a big collection of physical media, or have you gone mostly? Have you downsized between house moves?
I had to trim it down because I just did not have enough space. I had thousands of DVDs. So I had to trim that down a little bit and just keep the ones that I definitely wanted to keep. So, for example, the Steelbook versions of the Alien films. So I've got in Steelbook on each one of the Alien films, even including Alien versus Predator 2 Requiem. I've got that on Steelbook. And I've got a very limited edition Hellboy 2 and the Golden Army with the little statue in there, and it's signed by Guillermo del Toro. Yeah. And I've got a very limited edition box of Event Horizon, which is sort of like the shape of the ship, and it opens up and you've got the gruesome bits inside it. So I've got those, but I had to downgrade because I just did not have the space. I'm just keep on buying a new TV or a new games console or whatever because I've got no space for them anymore.
No, because the technology is getting bigger, isn't it?
If I had the space for it, then yes. It's ironic that technology is getting bigger considering that we grew up with cathode ray tube TVs with the huge massive backs on them. That was definitely bigger. But yeah, I've got just no space for them these days.
Most of my DVDs and Blu-rays are in plastic tubs in the other room. I know where they are, so if I need a specific one, I just and find it. But I really want the next house I live in, I want a big shelf with it just displayed. I also have a lot of signed DVDs and Blu-rays. You think, well, you're not doing that on Netflix. I just sign my TV screen with your thumbnail. So
don't give them ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
That'll be like Netflix Super Premium. Super Premium, you get digital signature from the director or something.
But I think there's also a cost thing. It's like one of the things that I used to do when I was buying physical media more was if I didn't have any money that month, just wouldn't buy any films. Yeah. But how many people just don't bother cancelling their streaming platforms? They're like, well, I've no money this month, but I can't be bothered cancelling Netflix, Amazon, Disney, Apple. Shudder or whatever. I tend to juggle my streaming platforms now. I have maybe 2 at a time that I just keep revolving.
And I think it's sort of like people just look at the digital platforms and go, yeah, it's going up in price, but still the cost of this for a month, I still would not be able to buy a Blu-ray or a 4K DVD for a film. Yeah, Disney Plus is going up in price in October, so they're getting rid of the normal version that you're on now, the $7.99 version. That's going up to 10 quid.
Is it really?
Sorry, it is. It's going up.
How much is it going up to?
So it is going up to $11.99 a month.
Wow, it's like $8.99 at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, so you can watch films in 4K. You can download them so you can watch them offline. That's what you get at the moment. That version is going to be $11.99, and then there is going to be a downgraded version, which is 1080p, where you can watch it on 2 devices and you can download them, and that's going to be the price that it is now, $8.99. And then there's going to be an ad one very similar to Netflix at $4.99, where you can watch it still in 1080p, but you can only watch it on 2 devices maximum, and you can't download them, and you do get ads.
See, I don't tend to download too many films and watch them offline. I don't really do that very often. I do have an issue paying for a streaming platform and then having that streaming platform making money from ad revenue. I'm a bit, iffy on that one. Either have me pay for my subscription or make money from ad revenue. Don't do both. So I think Disney may end up getting dumped by me just on that principle. I did get rid of it.
Yeah, I think you look at Amazon. Yeah, Amazon's $8.99 a month, but look what you get with Amazon. So not only do you get Amazon Prime Video stuff and the football, if you're into football, but you get next day delivery. And I think Amazon can do that. They can offset it with some of the other things that they make money from, because they make more money, my guess is, from their shopping side of things than they do from the Prime side of things. But they could, if they wanted to, split it off, because there is Amazon Music. You do get a version of Amazon Music apart of Prime, but there is Amazon Music, which has gone up in price by £1, which is separate. But they could do that with all of theirs. But Amazon, I think, you look at Bezos and think he's a bit of a prick. But out of all of them, he's less of a prick compared to all of them, because it's gone up by £1, but still for $8.99 a month, look at everything you're getting. Whereas with Netflix, you spend like 15 quid a month just to watch films. And their big thing is, we make our own films. Yeah, but the quality is shocking.
They're not very good, though, are they?
So, I'd no offense, but I'd rather watch a pirated copy of it on a dodgy stream somewhere than actually pay 15 quid a month to actually watch it on here, or actually go to my town centre and buy a physical copy of a film that it might be very hard to actually find on your platform.
Yeah, same.
So, and YouTube Premium increased the price of theirs as well. Theirs is $12.99 a month, which I'll still stick with it because I don't like ads like yourself, and it's my music platform, so I'll stick with that. But even the attempted films, and theirs is shocking. They're films that they actually released. Let's have Logan and Jake Paul in our film. No, let's not.
Let's not bother doing that. But it's like, you get these people who go, for example, this streaming platform's only £7 a month, which is probably less than going to Starbucks or whatever. And it's true, it is less than going to Starbucks. But then if you've got about 5 or 6 of these things, then that ain't, cheaper than going to Starbucks anymore. It's not cheaper than buying a 4K movie. Yes, you can obviously watch more than the one 4K movie that you buy on disc for that cost. But if you don't want to spend something next month, you don't have to. It's just, I found I had a lot of streaming platforms at one point that I would probably watch 1, maybe 2 films every month, if that, on some of them. And I did end up keeping a list of which ones I used, and the ones that I just didn't use very often, I just got rid of. So, for example, Apple, I signed up for a month last month because I wanted to watch Hijack and I wanted to watch Shrinking. So I paid the $6.99, did it for a month, cancelled it a few days ago. It's going to run out on the 5th of September. So then when there's other things that I want to watch on Apple, I'll just sign up for 1 month, run it, watch all the stuff, concentrate on that one, and then dump it again, which is generally what I was doing with Disney and stuff as well. That's another one, right? So, for example, September is going to be Disney month, so we'll sign up for a month. Everything we watch will just be the Disney stuff. Batter that, get rid of it, rather than have maybe 7 streaming platforms.
I'm slightly more frivolous than you. I look for the deals. So, for example, Sony, was it last month? It was either last month or the month before. They were offering 6 months free for Apple Plus, Apple TV Plus.
Oh wow, okay.
So, if you had a PlayStation 5, if you've got PlayStation 4, I think you got 3 months for free. So obviously, PlayStation 5 used. You'll have an email address that you don't use to sign up to these places. Just use that email address, and I got 6 months for free. So I do that. Because I've got a few different email addresses. One is my main email address. Then I've got a few different ones, and so I just do that. Just as soon as I find there is a deal for something where I'll get a month free or 3 months free or whatever, instantly go for it. And then some of the places, as soon as you decide to try and cancel, they go, oh, well, here's another month. Shudder is the prime example of that.
Yeah.
As soon as you cancel with Shudder, it's only $4.99, and it's definitely worth it if you're a huge horror fan. But when you cancel with Shudder, they go, here's another month free.
It's good to know.
Another month.
Yep, it's good to know.
So, because I did that with Shudder when it was a month that I wanted to watch a film, because I know that in October Shudder is brilliant to watch it, because they throw absolutely everything at Shudder in October. Yeah. So I'll just go, I'll watch in October, and then I've done it before, I'll cancel it, and here's another month, watch it in November. Fine, I'll watch it in November then as well. And then I've cancelled it, and then gone back to it 6 months later, and for some reason they do the same thing. They give you another month for free. So cheers, thank you, give me that. So I'm just on that vicious cycle.
Paramount Plus are pretty good for that, because I signed up when it launched, and I'm like, wow, look at all these films, and then I didn't watch anything. I think I watched The Offer, which was a good series, and then I just didn't watch anything else. I'm like, I'll just get rid of it. So I got rid of it, and then they sent me an email through like a week after going, hey, you can have 50% off or whatever. I'm like, I'm good, thanks, I'm not bothered. And then maybe another week or so after that, they sent me another one going, hey, you can have 50% off for the next 3 months. And I'm like, I'll do that then. So I just signed up and then cancelled it again after the 3 months once I'd watched like Tulsa King and all that sort of stuff. And then I'm just sitting waiting for another email to come through from them. But they're pretty good at sort of eventually chasing you. But Shudder sound like they're definitely ones to watch.
And also those kind of platforms cotton on with your other things. Like, for example, with my phone contract, I'm with 3 at the moment. My phone contract up next month. So 3 have now partnered up with Paramount. So you can get something on your phone where if you go with a package where you get your phone with your normal deal plus Paramount Plus for your full run of your contract.
Yeah.
They do that. If you go, you know what? I don't mind spending an extra £10 a month on my phone plan. It's £80 a month. I'll spend £90 a month instead. They give you 3 different things for free. So you can choose from Xbox Game Pass. You can choose from TNT Sport, which is what BT Sport used to be. You can get Netflix as part of that. So that's what they craftily do. They craftily throw it in a contract for your TV or your phone so you can actually get in that way.
I think there'll come a time when I think we're going to start seeing bundles, aren't we, at some point? Some of these companies teaming up, going, well, like you can get, Max and Paramount or whatever together for X amount. Because I can't see how much longer they can keep going, raising the streaming platform prices whilst the public are going to keep paying for it. I think it's really cheeky that they're also raising the prices during a writers and actors strike. So, they clearly, they're trying to make even more money that they can't then pay to the writers and the actors.
Yeah.
So the timing kind of sucks.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with that, because I knew that it would last more than 100 days. Yeah. Unlike the last one, because the last one lasted 100 days. This one's going to last a hell of a lot longer.
Yeah, because nobody's blinking at the minute, are they?
There's no end to it. There's absolutely no end to it. And when you listen to some interviews with some directors, for example, on Kermode Mears' Take, they had Harris Dickinson on. And right at the start of the interview, when Robbie Collin and Mark Kermode interviewed Harris Dickinson, he turned around and went, I can't talk about anything else apart from the thing that I'm actually here to talk about. Because he was allowed to promote it because it was a small little indie British thing that he was doing, so it wasn't part of the SAG-AFTRA strike. So he was allowed to talk that. But if they asked him a question about beach rats, for example, or something like that, he wasn't allowed to talk about it. So,
it's tricky. It's like, Fright Fest. We've got this month. Fright Fest is on this month. And normally one of the really cool things about going to a convention or a film festival is the guests that you get to speak to. And it's like, do interviews with them and all that sort of stuff. But the amount of stuff that people just won't be able to talk about, or the guest won't be there anyway, is quite saddening for like everybody involved, to be fair.
Yeah, it's just directors, which is what's happening like the Venice Film Festival and the Berlin Film Festival and the big massive film festival. They're just getting as many directors on there as possible.
Yeah.
To actually promote the film, because the directors can, but the writers can't and the actors can't.
No.
So you're going to see no actors, but you're going to see everybody from Guillermo del Toro to Martin Scorsese to whoever has actually got their latest film out. So
we live in strange
what a wonderful
times,
world. What a wonderful world the movie industry actually is.
The world's on fire, isn't it?
Yep.
But a lot of the film industry and stuff, certainly a lot of the podcasts I listen to, they just seem to be obsessed with how much money a film's taken at the box office. That seems to be just all they bang on about now, which is crazy annoying. But, you know, I guess what else?
It's sort of like understandable when there's only 2 films that have cracked the $1 billion mark in a year. We're into coming up to month 9, and there's only 2 films that have cracked $1 billion. And you look at the rest of the year and you think, well, is there any other film that's coming out this year that could crack $1 billion? You look at the list and think, actually, there isn't. There are a couple of obviously big films still to come. The new Hercule Poirot film, will that do it? Nope, no, that definitely won't do it. Will Willy Wonka, will that do it? Nope, that won't do it.
I think people seem to think if there is one that could do it, is Dune Part 2. But I don't even think that'll crack $1 billion.
No, that won't. Blue Beetle won't. The new DC film. It just doesn't. People don't even know what Blue Beetle is. So that won't. Saw won't, because it's just such a small budget film anyway. Horror films don't get that high. They do brilliant because the budgets are so small. Exorcist Believer, that will not crack $1 billion neither.
No.
So
why does a film need to crack $1 billion though? And that's the thing. I mean, it seems to be like a badge of honor, doesn't it? And it's kind of cool if you've made a movie and it's made over $1 billion. Don't get me wrong, that's amazing. But if you make just a lot of the critics and podcasters and just everybody on social media just seem to be so obsessed with this film's come out, it's made this much, it's a flop. It's literally been out 3 days or something, and there seems to be too much obsession with trying to make and will films into flopping, which is a sad state of affairs, to be fair. It's
because of the budgets of films these days. Even if you look at small independent films these days, the budgets seem to be overblown a lot. And so obviously you're just putting too much pressure on the film straight away. That's the reason why. If a film, for example, if a film's got a budget of 300 million, look at Indiana Jones, and it makes only 30% of that back in its opening weekend, you look at that and go, well, the opening weekend is the weekend when films are more successful. So if it can only make 30% of its budget back in the opening weekend, then each weekend after that is going to dwindle. So that will obviously instantly make a critic go, well, it's not going to be a successful film. So they sort of like look at the budget of the film, look how much it took, look at the percentage and realise, well, in its second week, third week, fourth week, 10th week, it's going to make less and less and less. So it's not going to reach its budget. So they instantly know it's going to be a flop, unless it's a rare circumstance where it actually increases, which is really rare to actually see, because even the big films don't do that. So unless it does that, then you're making your mind up in the first week, because the first week box office takings is the main week itself.
Yeah, because usually within 3 or 4 weeks or whatever, then a film is gone from the main screens, which is a shame. You know, I remember being as a kid and films were in there for weeks and months, and it was great. And there was only 3 screens. Now you've got cinemas with 20 screens, and the films are gone within a month, which I think is a shame. But I think that's probably just because there's that many films. There's a lot of competition now when it comes to
but I think
movies.
There's a lot more understanding of how a film is actually made these days compared to what they were 15, 20 years ago. Because obviously we've got the internet, so we can actually retrieve a lot more information on. People can instantly just go on Wikipedia or Google and look up what the budget was for that film. They can find it on IMDb. So we're more aware of what a film's costing these days compared to what it was like 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. We were less aware of that. So as soon as you're aware of what a film costs to make, and then you double that for the big films anyway. You double that because that's the advertising and budgeting costs for that. And if it hasn't made even a third of that, even a quarter of that, and it's opening weekend, it's a flop.
But if
unfortunately,
if it's a flop though, so let's say A Monster Calls, right? Just use that as an example because I know you love that film and I do too. So A Monster Calls comes out and the budget was 300. I mean, it wasn't 300 million, but let's just say for the sake of this argument, it cost $300 million to make. It comes out, it didn't make enough money to cover that budget, so therefore it would be classed as a flop. But it's a great film.
It is, but that's not the way the studios look at it.
But it's not so much the studios. I think it's the public.
Unfortunately, it is the studios because they're the ones who are going, well, we're the ones who footed the bill for the film itself. If the film's not making 200 million and it's opening a weekend, it's a flop to us. And so when they sort of like throw that out, you read news stories. That's where we get all our information from. The public sees the news stories saying, Disney have said The Little Mermaid has only made £40 million from its opening weekend. Its budget is 300 million. It's a flop. You're just going to read that and go, well, it's a flop. Yeah. Despite how much you think the film, how fantastic the film actually is. A Monster Calls is a good example because A Monster Calls barely made its budget back. It barely made its budget back, but I deem it as being a phenomenal film because that's the way I saw it. Yet studios will look at it and go, well, we're not going to take that kind of risk again. We're just going to make, let's make another Fast and Furious film because we know it's going to make money. Well, Fast 10 didn't, but...
it was better than Fast 9, but yeah, it's still got a long way to go to get back to the heights of Fast 7.
But that again, it is because of the awareness of sort of like what people can retrieve information-wise on the internet and even through newspapers and TV reports and stuff like that. It's the awareness now compared to what it was like 10, 15 years ago. Because the public's mind's eyes and decision is made up from what they read and what they hear. Yeah. They very rarely make up their own decision from their own back from seeing the film.
Don't, do they? I see that Facebook's pretty bad for this. So I'll see, for example, so it's like, and I'm going to use you as an example, but it's not a posting that I've seen you do. So you go on and you go, I've seen Blue Beetle. Oh, it's terrible. Right now, I'd look at your posting and go, well, I still want to watch Blue Beetle, so I'll see what I think of it when I go watch it. And I still go watch the film and I make my own mind up. But you see a lot of people who will probably respond to you, for example, and go, oh, I really wanted to watch that. I guess I'll skip it. No, make your own mind up. Don't necessarily go off somebody else's thoughts. Go watch it yourself. But you said, people they're just
surprisingly, my friends are like that. They don't actually listen to what I say because they know I'm a miserable git. A lot of the films, I'll just turn around and go, that was crap. They think I'm going to say that with absolutely everything. I'm not.
No, you don't.
I'm definitely not going to say that to absolutely everything because I did write 6 films down and on a piece of paper in front of us. And a couple of those films I thought were actually really, really good compared to a couple of films on the list, which I actually think are really crap.
And every year you manage to come up with a list of your top 10 favorite films, and you've done that for over a decade, so you don't dislike everything. With your reviews, if you say, say A Haunted in Venice, let's say, for example, I want to watch that because I've liked the previous Agatha Christie adaptations that Bran has done. Say you go watch it and you think it's terrible. I'm not going to go, I'm not going to watch it now. But if I didn't want to watch a film, or you've done it many times where you've mentioned a film that I've never heard of, but you've said it's really, really good. So I then go seek that film out. So I take your positive reviews, but I don't let your negative ones dissuade me from watching the film if I want to watch it anyway.
For example, you might have actually heard of this film, but there's a little horror film called Little Bone Lodge.
I haven't heard of that one. Nope.
So it's a British film. It's a small little British film, which is a thriller, which I thought actually wasn't too bad. I watched it. Jolie Richardson's in it.
Okay.
She plays a mother who sort of like lives in the middle of nowhere with her daughter and her husband, who is sort of like there's something happened to him. And these two guys are involved in a car crash, and so they look for a place to stay, and they discover a dark secret. And so it's a small little British film, which I actually thought was quite well made and quite well executed. Very few people have heard of Little Bone Lodge. Yeah. And so that's a perfect example of a small little film that few people have actually heard of. But I'll recommend it. Yet something like Meg 2, no. Even though it's slightly better than Meg, it's still rubbish.
Yep. So I will check out Little Bone Lodge, though.
Yeah, Cobweb is another example. You might have seen the trailer for Cobweb.
Yeah.
I've seen Cobweb, and I thought it's a 2/3 of a good film, and then the last third is not very well actually made. You probably actually saw my review for Cobweb. I'm seeing if I can actually try and bring it up, because I send a friend my reviews of pretty much every film that I watch anyway. So, but with Cobweb, when I can actually find it, I gave it a 3 out of 5, because I've changed it to 2 out of 5, because for me it's going to be more easier for me to actually discover a film at the end of the year if it's good or not. And I just says it creeps up the horror staircase with confidence in the first 2/3, building up its tension. It, however, trips over its own feet and tumbles down the latter third.
Oh no!
Undoing some of what it managed to achieve, slightly forgettable horror. So it's actually a good 2/3 of a film, but the last third, unfortunately, it goes into sort of like Darkness Falls territory, which I quite like. Darkness Falls,
yeah, I quite
but
like.
It sort of like goes into Darkness Falls territory. So surprisingly, it's actually produced by Seth Rogen.
Okay.
I didn't even know that until I actually watched the film. But yeah, it's just, I don't know how many people actually go and see Cobwebs, but I don't think people will look at my review and go, well, I'm not going to see it because he thought it was just a 3 out of 5. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, 3 out of 5 is still good though.
Yeah,
I think I would look at a score 3 out of 5 and I wouldn't go, oh, I'll skip that then. I'd go, well, that's more than half, so therefore that's a good one.
I honestly don't care what people look at my reviews, and if they go, yes, I'm going to see a film because of what he said. No, I'm not going to see a film because of what he said. That's fine. If somebody wants to engage me in conversation going, oh, well, you didn't like Barbie because of this, but I agree with you on that, and start up a conversation. Brilliant. Start up a conversation.
Yeah.
Just, I don't care if you don't agree with what I think or agree with what I think. I just post them up in there for me.
Yeah, they're like a record, aren't they?
Just like that idiot who sent me a message on Twitter, said that you must absolutely hate every single film. And then I just replied to him going, well, last year I did a podcast where I actually listed my favourite 100 films of all time.
Still have the list, yep.
Yeah, so I must not hate every single film if I was able to actually write down 100 films and still have another 100 or actually create another list if I wanted to.
I've started actually increasing my 100 up to probably whatever it is. I think it's up to about 140 now, because there's a lot where I'm like, damn, I forgot about that film. Let me put that in my list. So I am starting on the 100 to 200.
Yeah, middle finger to you, because there are films that I do like. It's just I'm a picky git when it comes to films. And so that's the only reason why. Just because somebody absolutely extols a movie for being the best thing ever, I'm not going to always agree with you. I'm going to have my own thoughts. And normally my own thoughts aren't going to be, well, this film's crap.
But it's like I've had the opposite, where people have accused me of liking every film I watch. It's like, well, I don't. I watch a lot of terrible films. I've watched like 2-3 not good ones this week, but I just don't feel the need to go write a blog post about how much I hated a film, because just because I didn't like it doesn't mean somebody else won't love the thing. So I tend to just use my time wisely in the way that I choose to, in the same way you do.
It's the reason why I love Twitter, and the reason why I actually love the way I sort of like pop film reviews up. Just for example, have you heard of a film called The Price We Pay?
I've heard of it, but not seen it.
Yeah, I just said for The Price We Pay was, I'm glad I didn't pay a single penny for this one. A terrible generic horror film that feels like it belongs to those trash straight-to-DVD movies Lionsgate used to release 20 years ago. Barely anything in this terrible snowfest works. I gave it a 1.5.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I don't think people are going to look at that and go, well, he gave it a 1.5, let's not watch it. Actually, I wonder if people are going to look at that and go, he gave it a 1.5, so let's watch it.
Yeah,
because he's going to hate the film, so I'm going to really love the film. You won't like that film, by the way. It's terrible.
How many people went to see like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, because they'd read some really scathing reviews of it, and they're like, I want to see how bad it is.
Yeah, it's in my top 5 worst films of the year list.
I watched it, and I think if you take Winnie the Pooh and those characters out of it and just had it as a slasher film, I think it'd be fine. But it just I couldn't grasp the fact that it was a Winnie the Pooh movie. It was just that messed with my head a little bit. But
see, the thing for me, that's not the thing that messed with my head, because you've had films, for example, In the Company of Wolves, which tells the story of just a children's fairy tale that we all actually know. We've seen it in Disney form, and so they do sort of like an adult version of it. So I've seen that kind of thing before. You look at what they did with the sequel to The Wizard of Oz.
yeah,
It's sort of like family-friendly film, The Wizard of Oz, and then the sequel is really dark and twisted.
yeah.
So you look at that. So I was fine with that. It's just that I'm a huge fan as well of cheesy horror films. I love a good cheesy horror film. So I was expecting that, but it even got that wrong. And so when you get the cheesiness wrong, then you know the film itself is going to be bad. Just everything about that film just did not work at all, which is really, really frustrating and annoying, because I wanted something that was so silly, like embrace the silliness, but it sort of like tried to be too serious. And that was the biggest problem of that film. Just embraced the just nutty insanity. Terrifier is a perfect example. That embraces its absolute insanity. And yes, the sequel is way too long, 2 hours and 20 minutes. And I think the director is sort of like making the third one shorter. But it embraced its silliness and over-the-top goriness, and it was just fun for that. And that's what it should have been. For example, the Five Nights at Freddy's film that's coming out in October, I'm hoping it's going to embrace its slight silliness and rather be serious.
Yeah.
Because if it's just too serious, then it's just not going to work. But embrace its silliness. And unfortunately, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey didn't do that. So
I was happy that, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey made for tiny budget. I don't know what the budget was, but I'm guessing it was tiny, because I know
it was something like £50,000 or something, £150,000.
I know a lot of the filmmakers that were involved in that. So then to see that tiny little film that is just a bonkers premise then go across the Atlantic, and Americans and stuff were watching it. And it was making, it easily made its budget back. It made a ton of money for them. And it's like, now use that money for something really good. And that's what I love. It doesn't look like they are. We're getting Bambi horror movies and all that sort of stuff. So it's like, I don't know.
And in that case there, embrace the silliness with it.
Yes.
If you're going to do a Bambi horror film with a psychopathic deer going on a murderous rampage, or if you're going to do another retelling of Pinocchio because it's in the public eye, and so you can do that about, a psychopathic wooden doll going on a murderous rampage, which has been done multiple times before. Embrace the silliness of it, because that's what they're meant to be. If you're putting them out there to be a silly horror film, just do that. Make it silly. Make it completely out there. Make it Barbie bonkers, because that's what we actually want. Don't make it serious.
No, because you're going to fail, aren't you? Trying to make a serious horror film about two humanoids that are apparently Winnie the Pooh and Piglet. You're on a bit of a hide into nothing. But if I forget the fact it was meant to be an actual Winnie the Pooh movie, I did enjoy some of the kill scenes and some pretty good shots, like the hot tub where she doesn't realize there's somebody walking up behind her. I'm like, that was clever. But beyond that, not so much. But
yeah, I think the prime example of where they actually embraced their silliness a little bit was Dead Air. I love Dead Air because it understood the assignment. It understood that it needed to be sort of like a homage to the Critters and the Ghoulies of the 80s. And so, yes, it was only a 20-minute short, but it's now making me go, I want to see exactly what they're going to do in the future. Yeah. Jake West is a perfect example of a director who does that. Evil Aliens is made for a budget of like 20 pence and a packet of quavers.
Yep.
But it understood it needed to be a completely stupid, silly, over-the-top, balmy, bonkless film. And it was. And then he went to do Doghouse, and I love Doghouse.
Yeah,
it's probably one of my favourite Danny Dyer films, alongside Severance.
Yep.
The only two Danny Dyer films I like. So I love Doghouse, and so it's making me go, I want to see what he actually does next. That's what Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey should have done.
He's done another documentary, hasn't he, which is shown at Fright Fest, which I haven't got a screening for, but if I do get one, I shall let you know. But I'm quite happy at the fact there's another Jake West documentary, because I'm a fan of some of the other ones he's done. So
yeah.
But
he's got the knowledge. He definitely has the knowledge of horror, Jake West, and he's sort of like see that in his films. Whereas I think with the director of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, he just saw the opportunity to actually make a horror film based on Winnie the Pooh, and that's it.
Yeah. So if I make a horror film about Winnie the Pooh, it'll make money. Done. That's all I need to worry about.
Yeah.
And it kind of did, but then we're getting a Bambi one, so. Who
It's
knows?
exactly what happened with the director of Jeepers Creepers Reborn, the fourth Jeepers Creepers film. It's exactly that story. He saw the opportunity to make a Jeepers Creepers film, and he made one of the worst films ever made. That film is atrocious. the fourth one, so that's exactly what he did. Just don't think like that. Think that, oh, I've got the license to this. Let's do something balmy. Or let's do, if it needs to be serious, let's do something serious.
Yep.
Let's have fun.
So what have you got planned for the rest of your evening then? We've covered a whole bunch. Physical media was definitely something I wanted to cover because I always find that fascinating, the whole changing in technology and the changing of people's behaviors into how they watch films and listen to music and play video games and stuff.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. But what are you going to do tonight after this?
Watch Twitch until I've got to go to bed and then I've got work tomorrow, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yep.
So how have you found the experience of video podcasting?
It's weird. It's weird.
It's a different feeling, isn't it? Because I struggled originally because when we were always doing the audio ones, I could check my show notes, pieces of paper everywhere, have an IMDb page up, and then to get used to the fact that I have no lists or pieces of paper or anything makes it a bit tricky. But I think for topic shows, I think video works because you're just having a conversation. But when it's like, what have I watched? I think it gets a little bit tricky because you can't refer to your sheets of paper.
I had a piece of paper actually with me just beside there with a couple of things. So I did have that because I'm a creature of habit. Yeah. I'm a creature of habit. So if I do these in the future, I will still have a bit of paper just there. That's what I used to do with when I did my show and with the box office top 10. I used to always write the box office top 10 and what the lineup of the show was down on a piece of paper. I always did that.
I used to have it on a separate tab on my monitor, the box office top 10 and whatnot, which is why now and again I would read the wrong list out or whatever.
Yeah, I never did it that way. I always wrote it down. And so I will, if I ever do this in the future, it will be like a piece of paper just to the side so you can't actually see it.
Yeah.
And the tablet seems to work fine. It's a good tablet anyway.
It is. I mean, maybe the angle needs to change next time because you look like you're...
It's just down to the fact that the stand that I've got it actually in.
Yeah, yeah. But it's
I'm getting a new stand because I've only just getting this tablet. It's a Samsung Galaxy Tab S8.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a swanky one. So I need because I have to buy something to cover when I buy a new piece of tech, just in case it breaks. Yeah. So I'm going to get a better stand where I can actually move it up a little bit like that, so it's actually in better view rather than just looking at my nostrils.
I used to end up with monitor glare, and it would be too dark, and it's trying to get a camera angle. Video, but the trickiest thing I find with video podcasts is when you're doing an interview.
Yeah,
because that's when you need your notes and you have like your 5 questions that you're probably not even going to use anyway, but you want to have them there just in case. But you can't. You've got to solely concentrate on the person you're talking to. So that to me is the trickiest thing when you're doing those sort of things. But
yeah,
I figure the more that I do them, the more they work. So
yep,
hopefully. But yeah, you've done a video podcast and you've survived.
Woohoo.
So that's good. But yeah, so we're now on YouTube. This is still going out on the audio feeds. So, people will either listen to this on audio or if you want to see what Stu Miller finally looks like, you can find it on
with
YouTube.
The floppy ears and piercings and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But no, thanks very much, Stu. Enjoy your evening. And,
you too.
And have fun on Twitch as well.
You too.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.